The National Provident Fund NPF saga is one of Papua New Guinea's darkest financial scandals. It's a story of ambition turned betrayal, where workers' retirement savings were lost in a web of corruption. This documentary dives deep into the saga, revealing the roles of key players behind the disappearance of these funds, a crime that left the nation reeling. If you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s or 50s, this PNG Trends Burner Mini-Documentary will make your blood boil. It's not just history, it's a true crime story about your parents' stolen money. The National Provident Fund, NPF. In 1980, Papua New Guinea introduced the National Provident Fund, NPF, now known as the National Superannuation Fund, NASFUND. It was a beacon of hope created to protect the retirement savings of private sector workers. Yes, retirement savings, their hard-earned futures. By the 1990s, the fund had grown significantly, its success symbolized by the construction of the NPF Tower in Port Moresby, the towers that was central to the NPF fraud. As for NPF, compulsory contributions poured in steadily from employers and employees. The booming mining industry and growing private sector activities between the 1980s and 1990s brought wealth to the fund, estimated at £500 million kina, an impressive sum considering the strength of the PNG kina at the time, but beneath the surface trouble was brewing between July 1997 and July 1999. Under Bill Skate's government, corruption and poor management spread like wildfire. Financial instability gripped the country as mismanagement pushed Papua New Guinea to the edge of bankruptcy. Governance was weak, oversight was absent, and the stage was set for betrayal that would shake the nation to its core. The rise of Jimmy Maladina. Jimmy Maladina became chairman of the National Provident Fund, NPF, in 1998. Joining him in the top management team were Managing Director Robert Call, Legal Counsel Herman Leahy, and Henry Fabila. These individuals played critical roles in overseeing the fund's operations. Maladina was charismatic and ambitious. He quickly became a central figure in the fund's activities, but his tenure was overshadowed by allegations of corruption. The Waigani land deal and the NPF Tower project became focal points of controversy. Investigations later revealed that funds were misappropriated under his leadership. As the scale of the fraud began to emerge, Maladina's actions came under intense scrutiny. The role of Peter O'Neill. Peter O'Neill, a businessman and then chairman of the Papua New Guinea Banking Corporation, PNGBC, now operating as Bank South Pacific, BSP, was implicated in the NPF saga through financial dealings involving Port Moresby First Real Estate. This company was central to financial transactions linked to the inflated costs of the NPF Tower project. The Commission of Inquiry uncovered that misappropriated funds were funneled through Port Moresby First Real Estate. Allegations suggested O'Neill had financial ties to the company and may have benefited from these transactions. However, O'Neill denied any involvement in fraudulent activities or wrongdoing. Despite his denials, his name appeared repeatedly in the Commission's findings, which outlined connections between the real estate firm and the broader web of corruption surrounding the NPF saga. No formal charges were brought against O'Neill regarding this matter. The web of corruption. The NPF saga was not the work of one man, it was a web of complicity involving multiple players. Philip Eludene, a Papua New Guinean public figure and chairman of the Central Supply and Tenders Board, CSTB, was a close associate of Jimmy Maladina. Eludene played a pivotal role in facilitating fraudulent transactions, including the infamous Waigani land deal, where funds were misappropriated. Acting as a proxy for Maladina, Eludene helped execute financial schemes that contributed to the mismanagement of workers' retirement savings. His involvement was thoroughly documented in the NPF Commission of Inquiry, which highlighted his role in the broader corruption network. Hoazhong Mek Luo, head of China Jiangsu International Group's PNG operations, became linked to the scandal through his payment of 2.65 million kina in restitution on behalf of Maladina in 2015. But wait, what does restitution mean? Restitution is the act of compensating for harm by returning stolen funds or property, ensuring justice and accountability often court-ordered as part of a sentence or settlement. In Maladina's guilty verdict, this payment suspended his 8-year custodial sentence but raised questions about Luo's motivations. The funds were reportedly tied to money laundered through Kumagai Gumi, a Japanese construction company contracted to build the NPF Tower. Kumagai Gumi issued inflated invoices for the project, with excess funds allegedly diverted and misappropriated. Luo's actions blurred the lines between business and corruption, adding another layer to the intricate connections between politics, financial dealings, and exploitation of the NPF. The Commission of Inquiry. In 2000, the Commission of Inquiry into the NPF was launched, chaired by Justice Tos Barnett. The inquiry uncovered widespread mismanagement and fraud, with losses exceeding 155 million kina. Witnesses testified about inflated project costs, diverted funds, and questionable financial dealings. The report named key individuals, including Maladina, O'Neill, and Eludene, and recommended criminal charges against several parties. Its findings were a damning indictment of the fund's management and governance, exposing the depth of corruption that had devastated workers' retirement savings. The Courtroom Drama. Jimmy Maladina stood trial in 2015 facing charges of misappropriating nearly $1 million. The National Court, led by Justice David Cannings, found him guilty, a moment marking the culmination of years of investigation. According to PNGI, Papua New Guinea's leading investigative journal, a pre-sentence report was presented to the court during Maladina's trial. It revealed statements made by Maladina and his family, emphasizing their efforts to repay the stolen funds. The report included the words of Janet Maladina, who stated, "What her husband has gone through for the last 17 years, the suffering, humiliation and shame, is seen to as being penalized enough. Their family accepts the guilty verdict and are now doing everything possible to assist pay restitution to the amount of 2,650,000 kina back to the state." The report further documented Maladina's own admission and apology. The accused admitted freely that he had committed the offence. He stated that he is sorry for what he did. He further apologizes and is remorseful, especially to the contributors of NPF, for what he had done that deprived them of their benefits, which was to be enjoyed with their families, and to his family for the sufferings, shame that he has brought on them for the last 17 years. He is making arrangements and is willing to repay the money owed back to the state. Despite being sentenced to 8 years in prison, Maladina's sentence was suspended. Instead, he was placed on a 2-year good behavior bond. The court highlighted mitigating factors, including his restitution payment and the significant delay in prosecution. The decision ignited widespread debate. Many questioned whether justice had truly been served, while others pointed to the repayment, the restitution, as a small step toward accountability in the aftermath of the NPF saga. The fallout. The NPF saga left a trail of devastation. Thousands of workers lost their hard-earned retirement savings, leaving families struggling and their financial futures in jeopardy. The scandal shattered public trust in financial institutions, exposing the urgent need for stronger governance and oversight. The Commission of Inquiry's findings led to reforms, but the damage was irreversible. Over 155 million kina of workers' money had been abused and diverted through corrupt deals, leaving a stain on the nation's history. The transformation into NASFUND. In July 1999, the late Bill Skate was ousted as Papua New Guinea's Prime Minister. Taking his place was the reformist leader, Sir Mekere Morauta, who inherited a nation in turmoil. Over the next 3 years, Mekere initiated reforms that reshaped Papua New Guinea's political and economic landscape forever.
I think it would be fair for me to describe corruption as both systemic and systematic. Systemic because it has invaded the whole processes of policy making and decision making. It has drowned the whole system, so it's systemic. It's systematic because it's organized.
By 2002, the NPF was privatized and replaced by the National Superannuation Fund, NASFUND.
We will remember Sir Mekere for the strong political leadership that he displayed in 2000 for driving superannuation reforms in Papua New Guinea. If he hadn't intervened at the time, I think the funds who were laden with problems, with deficiencies, lack of governance, strong political interference would have been in a different state today. So to Sir Mekere, the superannuation industry owes him a lot. As a proponent of implementing the reforms that Sir Mekere instituted in 2000, the superannuation industry is very strong today. Members, contributors to the funds, NASFUND, NAM1 Super, Commonwealth Trustee, their predecessor organizations, the National Provident Fund, has strongly benefited from the governance reforms that were part and parcel of the superannuation legislation. So we owe Sir Mekere a lot for those reforms.
Today, NASFUND stands as one of Papua New Guinea's largest private sector superannuation funds. While the transformation marked a new chapter, the shadow of the NPF saga lingered. Sir Mekere Morauta's government also established the Commission of Inquiry, which exposed the full extent of corruption and mismanagement within the fund. His leadership became a beacon of hope in the aftermath of the NPF fraud. So, what becomes of Jimmy Maladina? Even he was convicted in 2015 to 8 years in prison. Maladina, truly a free man now? Despite his 2015 conviction and 8-year sentence, Jimmy Maladina avoided prison through a suspended sentence. In 2016, Jimmy Maladina's conviction for misappropriating funds from the NPF was overturned by the Supreme Court, citing significant delays in prosecution and procedural issues despite evidence of the fraud. This ruling essentially cleared him of wrongdoing in the case. Then in 2019, the National Court ordered the state to reimburse Maladina 2.65 million kina, citing restitution over payment. Yes, you heard it right, restitution over payment connected to the NPF Tower scandal. The legal outcomes ignited public controversy, as many believe justice was not fully served, despite the fraudulent activities of the NPF Fraud had taken place. The evolution of key figures in NPF fraud. The fallout from the NPF fraud did not end with the scandal. Jimmy Maladina ventured into private law practice and was embroiled in the UBS scandal, where he admitted to charge 1,500 kina per hour for his advisory services in UBS loan under Peter O'Neill and made 1 million kina. Maladina successively transitioned into politics as MP for Esa Ala Open in 2022. In 2024, he became the Minister for Petroleum in the Marape Rosso government. Peter O'Neill became an MP in 2002 and rose to prominence in politics. He became the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea between 2011 and 2019. He has been central to the Paraka scandal and the UBS scandal. Hoazhong Mek Luo has continued this business operations in PNG, while Eludene remained tied to the events of the NPF saga. These figures shaped the nation's political and economic landscape, their actions forever linked to one of Papua New Guinea's darkest chapters. Lessons and reflections. The National Provident Fund, NPF Saga, revealed the devastating impact of corruption and governance failures. Key figures included Jimmy Maladina, who orchestrated fraudulent schemes, Eludene, who facilitated transactions like the Waigani land deal, Peter O'Neill, linked to diverted funds through Port Moresby First Real Estate, and Herman Leahy, whose oversight failed to prevent mismanagement. The scandal caused over 155 million kina in losses, betraying the trust of thousands of workers. Yet, Sir Mekere Morauta led the transformation of the NPF into NASFUND, restoring public trust and implementing critical reforms. His leadership marked a turning point, proving that institutions can rebuild and thrive after corruption. Epilogue. The story of corruption is not just one of loss, it is also a tale of resilience and lessons learned. The NPF saga exposed the corrosive power of entrenched corruption, siphoning away funds meant to secure the livelihoods of Papua New Guinea's workers. From the ruins of betrayal emerged NASFUND, a symbol of reform and resilience. The tireless leadership of Sir Mekere Morauta transformed the shattered institution into a beacon of hope. Yet, Papua New Guineans must not forget, the legacy of corruption lingers. The money stolen from your parents represents more than financial loss. It carries the weight of betrayal, with the perpetrator's influence still echoing